Good morning, everyone, and welcome into another edition of WST Sunday Live. My name is Hrabchak. Today, joined as always by my co-host Lyss Houde. Lyss, how are you doing? The lake tour continues. It looks like you're not at home, not at your usual hat wall setup. Where are you today?
I am out in Winnipeg Beach, Sandy Hook kind of area right now. I'm in the Gimli area this weekend. I actually need to give a shout out. I went to the Viking last night. If anyone's familiar with Gimli in the area, especially on August long, it's quite the place to be. A guy comes up to me yesterday and he says, "Obscure Jet, Grant Clitsome," and I've decided that that's the only way that anyone should ever start a conversation with me for the rest of my life. I'm so glad that that is what I have become known for. Obscure Jet is like my bread and butter. So shout out to that guy.
There you go. Shout out to that guy at the Gimli Viking with dropping Grant Clitsome. That's pretty sick. Well, I'm glad your summer's going well, Lyss. I hope everyone in chat's summer is going well as well. We are at August 3rd. It is the August long weekend, but we did get news that Dylan Samberg is re-signing with the Winnipeg Jets, extending 3 years, $5.75 million. And Lyss, there's a lot of ways to kind of take this one, take the thoughts on this one, because let me just start by saying anyone who didn't think this was getting to arbitration, or like we all thought it wasn't getting to arbitration, but anyone who says they weren't worried about it down the stretch is lying to you. Elliotte Friedman this morning on 32 Thoughts said that Samberg and Samberg's agent were the only players that actually made it to Toronto for their arbitration hearing. Everyone settled before they got on the flight to go to Toronto to get to the hotel. Elliotte Friedman said someone told him that he saw Kevin Cheveldayoff late Tuesday night in the hotel lobby negotiating this Dylan Samberg deal. They were the only player, case, whatever the case might be, to actually get to Toronto. So that happened. And then they settled at 5:18 local time. Murat Atesh put out the tweet. Dylan Samberg, 3-year extension with the Winnipeg Jets. What were your initial thoughts, Lyss, on the deal for Samberg?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know. It was kind of fun, the circumstances surrounding it, where, everyone's scrolling their phones at like 11 p.m., midnight, like hoping to get like kind of that in under the wire deal, which is always kind of like, it has its own, like, I don't want to say that we were excited about it or having fun with it, because I think a lot of people were worried about a situation they didn't think they were going to have to be worried about. But the initial thoughts when the deal came in was, first of all, thank God that there's something in my Elliotte Friedman, like my free HNIC Twitter notifications here that
Yes.
we have to look at here this morning. But then the second thought was, oh boy, 3 years. I think
Yes.
the AAV was kind of negligible to me. I didn't really care what that was going to be, because I think there were so many arguments to be made for, definitely not, in my opinion, as low as what the Jets seem to be wanting to give him early in the arbitration stages there, but anywhere between $4 and $7.5 million, you could have made an argument for, to be honest with you. And right. So I think I wasn't too concerned about that, but the 3 years is what really stuck out for me.
Yeah, the 3 years stuck out for me as well, because like I said, I think if you weren't worried about it getting to arbitration, you were lying. That would have driven him straight to pending UFA status and given him a 1-year contract. And we all were sitting there all summer long thinking, Dylan Samberg's going to sign 8 years. He's going to sign 7 years. He's a long-term guy. And then you get, 3 hours away from the arbitration hearing, and you go, okay, the Jets should just be taking any term at this point instead of just a 1-year deal. That's what ends up happening. It was a 3-year contract, $5.75 million. I will note, Evolving Hockey projected a 4-year deal at $4.5 million AAV. So the Jets got less term and paid more for it. But Elliotte Friedman on 32 Thoughts this morning as well mentioned that Dylan Samberg's a guy that he says if he keeps progressing, if he keeps going, he could easily be north of a $7 million defenseman, even more. And in this current cap environment, maybe that's the Samberg camp wanting to cash in twice, and they're cashing in once. I mean, 5.75 for 3 years is a pretty good deal. A lot of people thought maybe 8 years by $6 million would get it done. Clearly, with this deal, that would not get it done. But I think it's so hard to analyze it because the disappointment of not going long term with Dylan Samberg is also met with the fact that they were 3 hours away from arbitration that would have made him the next Jacob Trouba and put him 1 year away from UFA and driven him straight to unrestricted free agency if he wanted to leave, even though we haven't gotten that indication once from the Samberg camp or Samberg himself that he wants to leave. I still think when these 2 years, 3 years are up, he will extend and be a long-term Winnipeg Jet. I don't think there's any issue with that, but it's hard not to be a little bit disappointed with the term. And then the fact, like, 5.75 AAV is Dylan Samberg will outplay that, no problem. But they're still like, okay, on a 3-year deal, I would have predicted at the start of the offseason, 3-year deal, like 4.5, like something a lot cheaper. So they're not even getting great value relative to what everyone thought on a shorter term deal. I think it's fair to be disappointed about the deal in that sense. But like I said, Dylan Samberg's so freaking good that 5.75 million is still like a steal, if we're being honest, I think.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like, I think it's a great point that you mentioned that in the short term, if they had wanted to really, go for the cup run, get competitive, whatever, signing those guys and those shorter bridges with those lower terms, knowing you can make them, pay them later. But that'll be after, you've won your Stanley Cup or whatever the intention is or something like that. I could see it, but you're right. This looks like more like a figure that you would have expected him to see had he signed an 8-year deal. But I wanted to bring up, what you mentioned of he is going to outplay that 5.75 million. I agree with you. I think in terms of the amount of minutes that he's going to play and the caliber of play he will bring to those minutes is hard to put a price tag on when you don't score as many points as you do. But I mean, you have a lot of numbers written down in our doc that I'm sure we'll get to when we talk about his usage and his output. And everyone knows that I'm the last person to care about points. I just understand how they are incorporated into salary negotiations and conversations about how much players are worth on the market as well as internally. But I posted a poll on Twitter when things are starting to get down to the wire and we realized that this was maybe going to be more of a situation than we thought it was when those initial staggering figures came out about the 2.5 million versus the 6 million or whatever it was. And everyone's like, oh my God, what is going on here? I genuinely wanted to know, because there are so many players in the league that's like, oh, this is how much he makes. And it's like his actual value is like $750,000 less than that, or like, oh my gosh, like if he had signed for $1 million more, like that would have been such a terrible contract, but you can get away with this. What figure in the AAV camp would Dylan Samberg have had to have made in the next like couple years or whatever for this to have been considered like a contract that you shouldn't sign? Because the number that I went as high as on that poll was $8 million. If Dylan Samberg needed to be paid $8 million in a long-term contract, I understand wanting to walk away from that and signing the bridge and trading him away and knowing that that's not something that you're able to take, whatever. Because like if you're looking at internal cap isn't something I care about too much, but like Mark Scheifele's an $8 million player and Connor Hellebuyck's an $8 million player. And maybe those guys are a little bit closer to a $9 million player. I'd probably put them in that camp. But like, Dylan Samberg, while he brings like a ton to the lineup and is one of the more important players on the team in a different capacity, like I think in terms of just a tradable asset and making it work, like $8 million would have been a lot. But I still don't even know
we're losing Lyss. Well, I will jump in here and just quickly say, on her point of like what would be an overpay for Dylan Samberg, I don't know. $8 million on an 8-year deal, like Lyss was saying, like the market is going up. I think the Jets will end up paying more than that in the future. I don't think, if he signs a 7-year deal at 29, I do think that is something that will reach, 7 million, 8 million quite easily, especially with where the cap will be at that time. Lyss, are you back? Can you hear me?
I am back. Sorry. And folks, this might be something that you see repeatedly for the next little bit. Hopefully not knocking on wood or anything like that. But I don't know if there's almost any figure that they could have signed him to that it would have been worth not signing, because you then have to go replace that player with someone else internally. Nobody in this organization.
The ultimate battle continues. Tyson Ducharme saying Lyss versus her internet provider.
But if you have to replace what Dylan Samberg provides this lineup right now, you need to go. Nobody internally can play more minutes. Like Josh Morrissey's the other left-handed defenseman that, contributes such high upside, and he can't play more minutes than he's already playing. I don't know what you're expecting Hayden Fleury or Logan Stanley or Billy Hanela to do, and totally. We know that there's some stuff there, but you'd have to go pay to bring someone else in or something like that, and the odds of there being someone available to come in and do as much as Dylan Samberg can do at any cost whatsoever right now is pretty low. So there was very, very little that I wasn't willing to see this team give this player, because the hole that he would leave, should he leave this lineup, is Nikolai Ehlers-esque insurmountable for this team where they're at right now in terms of replacement.
And honestly, we've talked about this throughout the season. He's changed the outlook or really just the level of play that you can expect from the Jets defense core, because when they had Brendan Dillon and Neil Pionk, I've made this point a few times on this show before, but the Jets traded for Brendan Dillon, 2 second-round picks, to hopefully get a shutdown second pair. That's what they were hoping for. And in some ways they got that, but that pairing, barely broke even when it came to just straight up 5-on-5 goal share. So they got maybe a shutdown pair. They were played like one, but they really just broke even, and they weren't by any means an elite second pairing. Maybe they were a good one at best. Then you have Dylan Samberg step in after Brendan Dillon moves on in free agency. And the Winnipeg Jets now have an elite shutdown second pairing. And that just changes the outlook of the entire team, because in the playoffs, you see Dylan Samberg is going up against Mikko Rantanen. Dylan Samberg is going up against Robert Thomas. Like, he's getting the marquee matchup at home. He's the one over the boards when the opposing team's star player is coming over the boards, and he's winning that matchup at an elite rate. It's not just, he's eating tough minutes, and you've made this point too, Lyss. He's not just eating tough minutes and losing. He's eating tough minutes and winning them at an elite rate. So it's very tough to replace that. I have to agree with you, because I'll start bringing up some of the stats here that I have written down in our handy document. At 5-on-5 last season, with Dylan Samberg on the ice, the Jets outscored their opponents 57-36. That's a 61% goal share, and that's the 5th best mark among all defensemen in the NHL who played 600 plus minutes. So all, starting defensemen or regular defensemen that have played the majority of the season, 5th best goal share in the league, playing against the toughest competition at all times. That's pretty freaking good. With and without Neil Pionk is really funny, or Neil Pionk with and without Dylan Samberg is also, like Choices TK here says, Samberg also unlocks Pionk. That Pionk deal is a waste if he doesn't have Samberg playing with him. I will say the Pionk deal, the biggest winner of this deal, I think, is Neil Pionk. With Dylan Samberg, he has a 57% Corsi percentage, without 48. Shots for 57, without him 54. Scoring chances for 55% with Dylan Samberg, 45 without. And then hilariously enough, his goals for percentage with Dylan Samberg is 63%, and without him it's 71. So he gets shelled in his minutes, but Connor Hellebuyck bails him out a few times, and he doesn't look as bad. But I will say, Neil Pionk is a much better defenseman with Dylan Samberg, and we saw that at many times so far this season. So Dylan Samberg, for what he provides to the Winnipeg Jets lineup, he will provide surplus value on this $5.75 million for the next 3 years. If you're a Jets fan, you hope that in 2 years, when they're eligible to extend him, they give him a 7-year deal. 8-year deals won't be in the new CBA. So hopefully a 7-year deal, 29, that takes him to 36. He'll be much more established by that point. I don't think this deal is a massive loss in terms of the bridge and the money that they got. Like I said off the top, I still think it's disappointing, because Samberg, at the start of the summer, we all said, oh, long-term. He's an 8-year player, and only get 3 years at a number that I think most people would have thought that number would be associated with a longer-term deal. That's something that is okay being disappointed with, but I still think there's no issues that Dylan Samberg will be a Jet for life. Lyss.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think that, a 3-year deal doesn't mean a player walks in 3 years. And
Right.
that's not even copy. I'm like, that's just objectively true. But I think I really do want to circle the point you said about like the types of minutes that he plays, because I don't know why the first player that comes to my mind when I think of the whole idea of munching minutes is Ivan Provorov. And I want to give
He got 8.5
guys,
million this
get
offseason, by the
ready. I'm
way.
gonna give an analogy. Is anyone ready for it? I know you guys
Yeah.
have missed me so much with these, but I think of minute munching defensemen like the way I think of like treading water, where it's like, don't get me wrong, you are not drowning, my boy. You are not drowning. I understand that. And there are teams that are like, I am prepared to put this guy out there to tread water so that everybody else around him can actually swim forward. They can actually swim, because those guys, if they are put in a situation that this guy is, where they have to, like this treading water situation of all this long minutes, they're going to drown. Actually, they're not just not going to swim. They're not even going to tread water. They're not going to drown. And that's what happens with guys who are only more effective in these smaller samples and stuff like that. But Dylan Samberg doesn't tread water in his minute munching minutes. He swims. He swims. And that's something that is very, very hard to find in the NHL. There are lots of guys who
Yes.
fully can munch those minutes and tread water, and everyone around them is better for it. Don't get me wrong. I completely know that. But it's really, really hard to find someone who actually can provide their own surplus value while others are providing surplus value, instead of just kind of hoping to be a net neutral while everyone else is bumping up there,
Yes. And I would argue that the Dylan Pionk second pairing we're okay with them treading water so that Josh Morrissey can cook against lighter competition. Well, now the Jets can do that. But like you said, Dylan Samberg swims and wins his minutes at an elite rate. So they have two elite left shot defensemen, or at least they play at that level. I'm not saying Dylan Samberg's as good as Josh Morrissey, but they're both elite defensemen in their role.
And they're
And the
different
metrics say that.
players.
They're
Which
different
is
players.
so
Yeah.
nice.
Yes, they stylistically they're different because they can have Dylan Samberg, who's a prototypical shutdown defenseman. We compare him to Jacob Slavin all the time. That's a player you want against your the other team's top competition, I should say, shutting them down. So, like Dylan Samberg with him on the ice last year at 5-on-5, the Jets had a 61% goal share. With Josh Morrissey on the ice, it was 59%. High danger chances for was 55 with Samberg on the ice, 57 with Morrissey on the ice. Expected goals percentage was 54% for both. Like I think it's safe to say the Jets have two elite left shot defensemen, whether they're very stylistically different and they do different things. Josh Morrissey's top power play. He's going to move the puck. He's going to skate. We've seen this the past number of years. He's an elite skater and an elite offensive player. Dylan Samberg's elite at the other end of the ice. And I think that gives the Jets a really strong blue line stylistically. And it gives them such an advantage over, every single night. They can just say the other team's top player, Samberg and Pionk, are getting that matchup. And we can be confident that they'll win that matchup over 60% of the time.
Well, then here's my question, because some people in the chat are talking about Dylan DeMello and Neil Pionk and some other guys who are obviously impacted by the Dylan Samberg signing. And people are talking about, like, is Dylan DeMello the best partner for Josh Morrissey? And in the year of 2023, or whatever you want to call it, I would have said 1000% absolutely. But I understand that this player is getting a little bit older, and in terms of traditional top pairing, I understand why there are some question marks around that. And Jay Miller brings up, would like to see 44 with 4 and not with 2. And do you think that there is a possibility in certain situations where, depending on the type of team you're playing, and I would have to look into, what that exactly would look like, it would make sense to kind of move someone else to play with Dylan Samberg if it's a really top heavy team and you just glue them together, whatever, and create this really special dynamic offensive pairing that's trying to feast against these teams' lower caliber competition. And
Sure.
When you have Morrissey and Pionk going back and forth on the blue line, kind of placing those pucks, whether it's, as shooting threats or working with the lines that they're out there with, there could be some potential for that to work out really well too.
There could. I will say, like, in the past, when they've played together, whether it's out of necessity or a Dylan DeMello injury or something along those lines, that pairing hasn't put up the strongest analytics or the strongest goal share. But I do like how the Winnipeg Jets use them in, specific scenarios. It's 1 minute left in the
moment's pairing, if you will.
Yes, exactly. 1 minute left in the first period, and they have the other team just iced it, and they have an offensive zone draw. The Connor Scheifele-Velarde line's coming out, and so are Morrissey and Pionk, because those are your two best offensive defensemen, right? I do like how they use that in that way stylistically throughout games and situationally, putting Morrissey and Pionk together. I will say, like, Neil Pionk, I think a lot of people, their perceptions of him changed in the playoffs because, in game 7 against the Blues, he was probably their best player or one of. And really throughout the playoffs, I mean, him and Samberg were fantastic in the playoffs, I thought. And especially in those games that Josh Morrissey went down and was unable to return, like the game 7, those guys played a ton of minutes and played well in them. And Pionk was jumping into the rush. He was physical defensively. He wasn't getting shelled in his minutes. He wasn't turning the puck over in bad spots like we've seen of him. That's maybe his downside in the regular season, like the bad Neil Pionk that we've seen at times over the last number of years. But again, last year was contract year Neil Pionk, and we all know that in a contract year, he plays like a top 4 defenseman, and that's what he did last year. Maybe it's Dylan Samberg. Maybe it's Neil Pionk in a contract year. Either way, I think that's a pairing you can bet on being elite for the next at least 3 seasons with Dylan Samberg here and Neil Pionk here for the next 7. Lyss. Oh, Lyss can't hear me. Okay, I'll keep talking. Lyss can't hear me. I will say, just to close the Dylan Samberg thing in a second, because I haven't yet said the record, but the Winnipeg Jets, in their 60 games with Dylan Samberg in the lineup last year, went 45, 13, and 2. That's a 125-point pace. And that is something that Jets fans should be very, very excited for, having that guy for the next 3 years.
My internet came back just so I could hear that.
Yes,
it knew I needed to hear that.
Perfect. They're not going to play at 125-point pace for the next 3 seasons, I don't think. But it just proves Dylan Samberg's importance to the lineup. And we saw that last year. And I see some people in chat too, predicting that he can maybe take a step forward offensively. As we know, I think I'm the biggest Dylan Samberg fan, or one of them. I don't know how much potential is there offensively, but I do think, like, he's a 20-point player in 60 games. I could see him getting into the 30 or mid 30s, like, as his ceiling offensively eventually. I don't know if he has the Josh Morrissey level of offensive explosion, going from like a 30-point guy to a 70, 60-point guy. I don't think he has that level of, breakout opportunity, but I do think he's going to be a stronger offensive player list as the years go on.
Yeah, I mean, I think I try not to look, I'm the first person to say I don't care about draft positioning once the draft is over and all these different things. But you could look at players' histories, and I'll do it because I'm right and you guys can't do it because you're wrong. But Josh Morrissey, throughout his entire junior hockey career, early stages playing with the Manitoba Moose or whatever you want, it's an offensive guy. We knew that about this player. Dylan Samberg has never shown that that's something that he wants to be sounds a bit dramatic, but that's not his game. That's not his style of play. It never has been. And I'm not saying you have to, typecast a player based on what he was like at 17, 18 years old, but it's a bit more, of a linear path here where he kind of is who he is, and he's developed into the player that I think a lot of people when the Winnipeg Jets drafted Dylan Samberg, this is what they wanted him to be, right? They didn't say they wanted him to be Cale Makar. That was never really on the table in terms of what you wanted to get out of this player. So it would just be kind of out of character. And I feel like a lot of it would have to change about the way he plays in order for him to do that. But we like who he is. This is good. This is fine. Yes, we don't need that.
Exactly. If he doesn't, okay, we want him to add offense, but does that come at the expense of his elite defensive play? Then maybe you don't want that, right? So it's Dylan Samberg is going to be a player that is going to play a ton of minutes over the next 3 seasons for the Jets, and hopefully for the next 10, because they signed him to a 7-year extension when he's 29. And with Neil Pionk here for the next 7 years, you can bet on that second pairing taking all the tough matchups for the Jets next season. And next season, Lyss is she's having a conversation off screen. That's
Sorry.
Okay. That's okay.
No. I got my coffee order is being dropped off for me. So thank you very much.
DoorDash delivery there. I will say we did want to talk, this is going to be our final show of the off season of the summer. We're going to be back in September with training camp and all of that fun stuff, of course, with preseason getting going. But Lyss, we do want to give, maybe our way too early thoughts on the 2025-26 Winnipeg Jets. Now that everyone is signed, I think it's safe to say the Winnipeg Jets are done making moves. You might see a Kyle Connor, Cole Perfetti, Adam Lowry extension between now and the beginning of training camp. But what are your way too early August long weekend thoughts on the Winnipeg Jets next season, Lyss?
I'm so glad you said thoughts and not predictions, because if you ask me for like very specific predictions, like I would be such a boring answer because be like, well, I don't know, it depends. I'm going 1-to-1 comparing this offseason to last offseason. And last offseason we walked into this August, whatever time you want to look at, with the exact same lineup, basically, for the Winnipeg Jets. They finished the year with, they're starting the next year with. So we're like, okay, Mason Appleton and Adam Lowry as this pairing on this third line here. What are they going to do as a whatever? Like, there is so much specificity to what we were talking about because we knew the players involved. We knew the coaching. Like, there's so much that we knew. The biggest thing was Scott Arniel coming in and being like, okay, how's that going to change and da-da-da. But, like, we knew the players. Everything is different this year. You could say that the defense has some similarities, and I'm hoping I didn't lose you.
No. I can still hear
okay.
You.
That's perfect. But like the forward group, nothing is the same. We haven't seen a Winnipeg Jets team without Nikolai Ehlers since the Obama administration. We haven't seen a Jonathan Taves, Gustav Nyquist, that amount of like high in the lineup pieces being brought into the forward group in the same option. Like there's just so much that we don't know about how all these players are going to work together. And then also just the fact that like losing Nikolai Ehlers, there may be some need to break up the Connor Scheifele-Velarde-esque, and if you're trying to balance the lineup a little bit more, maybe that's something that's going to get split up and Alex Iafallo is going to get a bigger role, whatever. There's so much that we don't know. And something as simple as I know Adam Lowry isn't going to be starting this season with the team because of his injury, but like we haven't seen Adam Lowry without Mason Appleton.
Yeah. Now we lost Lyss, but she was saying we haven't seen Adam Lowry without Mason Appleton, which is very true. Yeah. Mason Appleton moving on, that has been, they've been attached at the hip for years now. Continuing.
Exactly. Yeah, no. So I just think that it's so hard to know how all that is going to impact itself. And I feel like, I don't know, I look at defense cores as very much like a supporting cast that kind of helps you either like achieve kind of your floor or your ceiling here, where it's like they can move the needle for sure. But I feel like things start and end with that forward group. Like there's only so much that defense group can do if the forward group isn't pulling their weight. Like it's really hard for it. Yeah, sure. Maybe the defense group can keep you down to 2 goals against per game, and that'd be unreal and exceptional. But if your group can only score 1.5, like there's not much you can do. So I think that if there were this many changes on the defense group, the way that we saw in, that Schmidt and Dylan offseason or whatever, I might be able to have some more substantial predictions and stuff like that, because you can look at that forward group, but the forward group having so many changes, I genuinely don't even know what to make of it. And that's all I'm going to be watching for. I'm usually a big defense girl. That's usually kind of what I'm looking at and watching. But I think especially for the first couple months of the season, it's going to be just locked right in on what that forward group looks like, who they try, because we don't even know what that's going to look like. Vlad Nemestikov is a question mark in terms of, is he going to be moved to the wing and stay up on that second line, or we have no idea. We genuinely don't know. And so that's going to be kind of all eyes from me on that during training camp and seeing how that goes, because the forward group has so many question marks for me.
Yeah, I agree. Especially with the forward group. The thing that I keep coming back to is Jonathan Taves. I've said many times on this program before, if your expectations are high because of the name and number on the back, I totally understand that. But I got to see it. I got to see it in training camp. I got to see it in the preseason. I got to see it in game action, whether or not Jonathan Taves still has it. And make no mistake, we've said this a few times as well, with Adam Lowry out for the first month or two of the season with hip surgery, he's going to get an opportunity. Jonathan Taves is going to play good minutes in the first couple of months here. So he's going to get that opportunity to prove that he's the same Jonathan Taves, albeit at 37 years old, having not played in 2 seasons. But I can't make a prediction on that one way or the other. And so much of the Jets' forward core success hinges on Jonathan Taves going into this next season and Gustav Nyquist. And I just can't, I can't make a prediction, like you said, Lyss, one way or the other until we see it in really game action. So my thoughts, we're making that proper distinction this morning quite well, is that the Winnipeg Jets have a very high floor as a team. I think comfortably they should be a playoff team in terms of, you have the MVP in net. He's still in his prime. He's returning. You're returning the entire same defense core. Like no matter who the third pairing is, this third core defense core is all coming back, especially the top 4 that we just talked about for a while is pretty elite on both pairings. And then up front, I mean, I said this, I think, a few Sundays ago, but maybe the Jets won't be able to play Connor Sheffley and Velarde 700 plus 5-on-5 minutes together this year. Maybe they'll have to spread the wealth a little bit. The biggest thing offensively as well, Liz, but with Jonathan Taves and Nyquist and kind of the uncertainty there, is the power play. We saw Nikolai Ehlers jump into the top power play this year, and they ended up first in the NHL, like 29%. Halfway through the season, they were like a historically good power play. Can this power play be like top 7, top 10 in the NHL with Cole Perfetti presumably stepping into the Nikolai Ehlers role? Like, I think if the Winnipeg Jets are elite defensively and they have Connor Hellebuyck in his prime in net and a top 7, top 10-ish power play, there's absolutely zero reason why they won't be competing for the Central Division title again. Offensively, though, 5-on-5 offense might be hard to come by. Power play might be hard to come by. If that power play falls out of the top 10, you could see them, really plummet in their goals for per game and their offensive output. So, Liz, I don't know if you've got me, but
yeah,
do you agree like the power play can cover a lot of offensive warts if they
always,
have it?
always,
Yeah.
100%. And I am really fascinated to see what it looks like, because I think it was so fascinating. So many people drew a 1-to-1 comparison to the fact that the Winnipeg Jets power play was dog 2 years ago, and last year it was good for more of the season than it was bad. Right. And the fact that the biggest change to them was that Nikolai Ehlers was on that first unit.
It's
Davis Payne. It's Davis Payne. It's not Nikolai Ehlers. So I am interested to see. I think the power play will be fine. I also think that Cole Perfetti is the easy internal promotion to come in and replace Nikolai Ehlers, even in the spot that he plays too. Nikolai Ehlers did a little bit of that kind of pop in the middle, sometimes down to the net, sometimes over to the flank. Those are the 3 spots where you would also want Cole Perfetti to be. It's a perfect kind of internal promotion situation here. And a lot of people are talking about like injuries and stuff like that in the chat. And I am always of the mind that if Josh Morrissey gets hurt, like, I'm going to stop you right there. You don't replace that. Like, that's just not something you could do. Like, if Connor McDavid gets hurt on the Edmonton Oilers, you don't have internal fixes to solve these things, because it's a moot point. Because if you had internal fixes, like, those guys would already be playing their own individual huge roles that they can't necessarily escape and leave. Like, you can be better prepared to move guys around and stuff like that, but like, you don't just replace a guy. No. Like, if he was that easy to replace, then he wouldn't have that high of an impact on your team and be such a massive loss. So I think that Nikolai Ehlers is a huge loss for so many reasons, but I think if he was doing a little bit more of the puck carrying on the power play, then I'd be a little bit more concerned. But he wasn't. He was the third, if not the 4th option to carry the puck in. We know the Connor Scheifele back and forth to bring the puck up into the zone, or the Josh Morrissey is the secondary option. Those are the 2 things that they ran. To bring the puck into the zone, and it worked. It was fine. So there's more to the power play than just the way the puck enters the zone, and Nikolai Ehlers brought a lot to that power play, but I don't think it's going to be as detrimental of a loss to the power play as it is going to be the 5-on-5. Second unit, I don't know. I guess we'll see. But I mean, the hope is always, if you can score an insane clip with that first power play, doesn't matter what your second unit has to do, because they don't even get a chance to play.
Exactly. And like, the second unit is so funny because they'll maybe get like 30 seconds a game. If a team gets 3 power plays, maybe they'll get like a minute and a bit. And then obviously they're there for relief if the first power play is struggling and is missed on 12 straight. And, the coach is making a statement by putting the second unit out in the tie game in the third period, right? But Cole Perfetti is absolutely the internal promotion here for Nikolai Ehlers on the power play. I will say, like, he's a guy that's eligible for an extension this year, right now. And stepping into that top power play and probably playing more offensively or more, 5-on-5 minutes per game next season, you're going to see those points explode. And I think, it's easy for us to sit here and say, well, the Jets should just extend Cole Perfetti before that happens. But like, Cole Perfetti knows as well that he's getting this power play promotion. Why would he not bet on himself? He's an RFA. He's not going anywhere. I don't like, there's no reason for Cole Perfetti to extend right now when he could be a 60-point player next year and make himself a ton of money stepping into the top power play role list. Oh, did we lose? We lost Liz.
Anyway, no. I'm here because I want to say, obviously, I am going to be even more insufferable than you were with Dylan Samberg this year with Cole Perfetti. And
I don't know if
contract
that's
your Cole
possible.
Perfetti
I
and
don't
contract your Kyle Connor could make this top 6 a little bit more interesting. Like, listen, I think we're going to see some really fun offense from those two guys. And I'm still not against the idea of them playing together. I'm still
Me
not.
too.
I'm still holding out hope. I still think that there's some potential for that to be a really, really fun pairing.
Yep. Yeah. We said that, I think, like training camp last year.
I said that when Pierre-Luc Dubois was here.
Wow.
That was my
Never
line.
mind.
That was
Wow.
my line. I actually, you know what? One day when I'm bored, I might just go look through their natural stat trick and find they were unreal together. They were so much fun, and I just loved. They were such a complete line. There's so much that they brought together, and that was before Pierre-Luc Dubois actually got good. Like, oh, can you imagine what modern Washington Capitals Pierre-Luc Dubois? I can't.
Liz, we can't be doing this. It's August long. We don't need to be talking about Pierre-Luc Dubois. I will say my Pierre-Luc Dubois, I mean, there are so many. We don't need to really dive into this, but there are so many Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. Keep going.
My Pierre-Luc Dubois moment with the Jets is when it was the COVID year, because I remember it being in front of nobody, when both Dubois and Scheifele played a full game with Kyle Connor on the top line. Like, I'm pretty sure Dubois was the left winger, and
is after he got back from an injury, right?
Yes. Well, yes. And the story that has come out since is like, who was the coach at the time? I guess it might have been Bonus. It was the first year of Bonus. Yeah. So it was the first year of Rick Bonus. The story that's come out since is like both of them were complaining about not being able to play with Kyle Connor. So Rick Bonus went, fine, you're playing winger, Dubois. And then it's like, and then they like won. I think they won the game, but then it was just a one and done. But anyways, that's my Pierre-Luc Dubois story among many for the Winnipeg Jets. And we talked about the Velarde extension last week. Obviously, he came from that trade. And Alex Iafallo and Rasmus Kupari, who's no longer with the Jets. But Iafallo and Velarde, two forwards that are going to play big roles with the Jets this upcoming season. I will say another thing that we wanted to do is predict these contracts. So I did say Cole Perfetti, he's eligible for an extension, but I really don't see him extending, especially, he's an RFA. Like Lyss and I both said, it's going to be a pretty seamless transition to have him go up and be on that top power play unit. The other two are Kyle Connor and Adam Lowry, who are pending UFAs. So they'd hit the open market next offseason. And the Winnipeg Jets will look to extend both of those players. If you're here with us in the live chat, let me know your prediction for Kyle Connor's contract. A lot of numbers have been thrown out. Assuming it's an 8-year deal, what do you think Kyle Connor's AAV comes in at as we get Lyss back on the show? Lyss, we're starting to predict some contracts here. Kyle Connor and Adam Lowry. Like I said, we're going to leave Cole Perfetti because he's going into a contract year as an RFA. He's getting the top power play. He's probably going to wait. Let us know in the live chat down below what you think Kyle Connor's contract comes in at, assuming it's with the Winnipeg Jets and assuming it's 8 years. What do you think it is? Lyss, I'll direct that question to you. What's the AAV on a long-term deal for Kyle Connor?
I am probably going to go with, let's go 10.5. Wow, I think 10.5.
That's lower than, people are throwing out 12.
Yeah, 12 would shock me. 11, I think, is the most realistic. I think the Winnipeg Jets, everyone gets paid a little bit closer to the middle than you think they're going to. Their superstars get paid a little less than you think they're going to. And their depth guys, they get paid a little more than you think they're going to. So yeah, I'm going to go with 10.5. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know what the math is. Maybe a 7-year, $81 million contract. Who knows?
Oh, look at that. Okay, well, I will say, when calculating the percentage of the cap, and I know Kyle Connor was, a player who's right now making like $7 million AAV, and that was, a long-term deal that the Jets were hoping he outplayed. And by the end of it, he did. Of course, I mean, this past year was the best year of his career. The percentage of the cap he signed for then now is like 9.5. So that's something that agents look at. And Kyle Connor's in no way getting $9.5 million on a long-term deal. Like, that's just not happening. But I can't see it being a $2.5 million annual jump, or 3.5 to 12 on an 8-year deal. I wouldn't be shocked to, Bryson here saying 8 years, 12 million, same as Marner and Rantanen. I would not be shocked to see this happen. But I think I'm going to agree with Tom Hank here. He says Kyle at 11 million. I'm going to go. I said it a few weeks ago before the offseason started. I'm going to stick with that. I think he gets 11 million on an 8-year deal to be the richest Winnipeg Jet ever.
And then do you think what's more likely, an 11.5 or a 10.5? Like in terms of where the pendulum swings there?
11.5.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I think 11 million. I think I'm more scared of being low in that prediction than I am being too high. Because like I said, I think Bryson is like, I could see the Connor camp thinking that they deserve as much as Marner and Rantanen. I know Rantanen like had that playoff run with Colorado that has surpassed anything that the other two guys in that list have done. But I mean, Kyle Connor and Mitch Marner, debate what you want. Kyle Connor maybe isn't at Mitch Marner's level right now. I don't know what people's thoughts in the chat are on Mitch Marner. I know his public perception right now is at an all-time low, especially going to Vegas, but I don't know. I don't know if they reach 12 on an 8-year deal. So I'm going to go 11, but I could see 11 and a half. I could see 12 as well if the Connor camp argues for that exact comparable. And we'll see. I mean, you brought up earlier in the show list, the past couple off seasons, 2 off seasons ago on August long weekend, we'd be sitting here stressing about the future of the Winnipeg Jets with Scheifele and Hellebuck. And now
this time,
Kyle
2
Connor.
years ago, I was gaslighting myself into thinking that Dominic DiVincentis and Thomas Milic were the way. This was after the Linus Ullmark, Jeremy Swayman goalie tandem unreal year. And I was like, maybe goalie tandem's the way of the future. Connor Hellebuck will be a New Jersey Devil in 2 months from now. So it doesn't matter. Nothing matters. Yeah. Mark Scheifele is like, it was insane. That was
the mock trades from the Devils? You know, like everyone was throwing out their mock trade. Okay, if Hellebuck goes to the Devils, what's the
Dawson
deal?
Mercer in a third?
Yeah, it was literally like Dawson Mercer and a couple day 2 picks. Like, it's so fun to look back on because now Connor Hellebuck's won an MVP. But I will say that is sticking with me this offseason because Kyle Connor is going to be, like I said, the richest Winnipeg Jet ever. He's going to surpass 8.5 million. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that that's going to happen. He's going to get into the 10 million range in a long-term deal. And there's no mock trades out there for Kyle Connor, or I'm not seeing any. So it's going to be very interesting. If we get to training camp, I think that's going to be the moment that it clicks with people. Like, oh, it's day 1 of training camp. Kyle Connor's a pending UFA and he's not signed. Then people will start freaking out. But I don't know why we're not freaking out yet.
That's what happened with I will never ever forget those Connor Hellebuck. Oh my god. Connor Hellebuck and Mark Scheifele contracts coming in on that Thanksgiving Monday when I was 30 seconds. I was boarded a plane to fly from Vancouver to Osaka, Japan. And I was losing my mind. And I was with like my 3 finance bro friends who like were not hockey fans whatsoever, like did not care. And I was like, you guys have no, I was like, you guys don't understand. I was like, don't even talk to me right now. I was like, I don't know what's going on. I was tweaking. That was like crazy. And like, I don't think anything will like live up to that because it's like, it's just one guy right now. And there's no dual superstar. Hey, you know what? Matching 8-year deals for Kyle Connor and his line mate Cole Perfetti. Let's go with that. That'll be the new Thanksgiving Monday this year.
I will say, like, that dual signing, the matching signings, was definitely a where were you when it happened moment, especially for Winnipeg Jets fans. I'll never forget. I mean, it's not as bad as boarding a plane, like on a long flight at that. I will say I was 30 minutes away from stepping onto the ice at a beer league game. And I parked at Dakota CC, Jonathan Taves Sports Complex, and checked my phone, and my phone was blowing up. And obviously the signings had happened. And I was like, I'm about to step on the ice and I can't do anything about this for the next at least hour and a half. I was so mad, but now that's some perspective there. I mean, boarding a flight would be much worse.
I feel like I remember where I was for so many of these different, like, and the most recent one was, as stupid as it is, because it has nothing to do with the Jets, the Mikko Rantanen trade. I was at my brother's volleyball game. No. I was Jacob. The first one.
Depends which one.
Depends which one. There were multiple of these. We were in the press box with Jacob for the Seth Jones trade. That one was so fun because it came right at the end of the first period of a Jets game, and we were like all on Puckpedia, being like, "How are they going to make this work? Who's going on LTIR? What's going on with Matthew Tkachuk, Spencer Knight?" And then Jacob was right on that one. But the Mikko Rantanen deal, I was doing lines at a volleyball game, and I get to my phone, and it's like everything, and I was like, "This can't be real."
Yeah. I'll never forget also the Mikko Rantanen trade, the first one going from Colorado to Carolina. That happened in the middle of the first period of a Jets game.
It did. That's the same one because I wasn't at
Yeah.
that game, and I was I was at my
Okay,
brother's game instead, and that was 100%. It was a Friday night. It was like
yes,
nobody saw this coming.
we were all losing our minds, and I'll never forget. Like Scott O'Neill was asked about it after the game. Was like, "Did you see Mikko Rantanen got traded out of the division?" And Scott O'Neill was like, "Yeah, like that's insane." Like not exactly, but he was. No,
shocked. But he's just like us. He was like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, he's like, "Well, that's okay. He's out of the division now." I'll never forget that too because you could almost tell. Like I remember walking the concourse at the end of the first. I was going to see my dad, and people around, like when I'm walking, I could overhear people's conversations. They were talking about it. They're like, "Whoa, did you see Rantanen just got traded?" And it's like, yeah, that I'll never forget either. But the Scheifele Hellebuck one for sure, definitely a where you when moment, as well as the Manitoba Miracle. A lot of people were in the building for that one, like you, Lyss.
I was in row 7, so I don't know what to tell you guys, but
I was in
I'll never forget that one either.
Yeah, exactly. That is there's been some moments over the years, and we'll see if there's many more coming next season. Lyss, it's time for our segments. It's 9:47. Let's try and burn through these real quick. Trending up, trending down. This is the part of the show where we outline one Winnipeg Jet or whatever that is trending up or down over the past week. If you're here with us in the live chat on YouTube, thank you so much for joining us on WST Sunday Live. Drop your picks for trending up, trending down in the comments down below. And I will say as well, WST Bombers Report with me and Schnitzy coming out Monday, tomorrow. We're recording it tonight. Blue Crew review. Go check my Twitter. The tweet is up if you want to submit your questions for that. The Bombers get back on track, but man, was it ugly. And we're going to be breaking it down because there's a lot of ways to go with that.
Are you guys going to get Luke Wilson on the show to join you?
Ooh, we'll see. We'll see. I will say the WST Bomber Report's going to be a good one. It might be a long one because yes, they won, but like there's a lot to break down.
But at what cost?
Yeah, at what cost? Exactly. Anyways, trending up, trending down. Lyss, I'll let you go first for this one this week. Oh, did we lose Lyss? I'll go first then. I'm going first for trending up. I'm taking Dylan Samberg. I'm taking the left side of the Jets defense core for the next 3 years minimum, being very elite. So Dylan Samberg is my trending up pick. I have to take him on the Dylan Samberg extension episode. 3-year deal. Absolute elite shutdown defenseman who I can't wait to watch deny zone entries for the next 3 seasons for the Winnipeg Jets. So that's my pick for trending up. I'll take the obvious one. Dylan Samberg's my guy. Lyss, who's your pick?
He's like the Willie Jefferson of knocking down zone entries. But
nice.
I'm going to go with a trending up pick of Mark Scheifele. Getting to play alongside Kyle Connor in a contract year this upcoming year, and also getting named to the Team Canada Olympic selection camp or whatever it's called lately. I think he's definitely got something to prove this year. As weird as it sounds for a bona fide number 1 center who has no contract expectations coming up and anything like that, he's got a fire under his butt, and he's definitely got a chip on his shoulder and something to prove this year. So that's my trending up pick.
Yeah, and I think this is I don't know what this camp is going to be like. Like, I don't know. I honestly didn't even know that they did this. The NHL players haven't been to the Olympics in a number of years, and they weren't doing this for the 4 nations. So I don't know if this was a thing. People in chat can maybe let me know. Was this a thing in 2014 and 2010? They did this, little camp in the summer. I have no clue. I don't know how important it is, but Mark Scheifele was literally leading the NHL in goals when they were down to the last couple selections last year for the 4 nations forward core, and he still didn't make it. So I don't know what he has to do. I think this camp is a big opportunity if it's a legit thing. I don't know if it's just they come, they play, some beer league hockey, they play some shinny, and they go home. I don't know what it's like. But yes, Mark Scheifele, something to prove this year, looking to make Team Canada at the Olympics. Josh Morrissey was invited to that camp as well, as you mentioned. But I don't have any, reservations or any worries that he won't make the Team Canada roster because albeit sick for the final, he was good in the other 3 games for Canada. And I think he'll be very good to start this season for the Winnipeg Jets and won't put anyone, out of mind when it comes to making Team Canada. Let's see some of the picks in chat. Tom Hanks says Samberg up, no hockey to watch down. I'm definitely, getting the itch with no hockey. Like I'm trying to, the Blue Jays are actually a really fun watch. I'm not typically a baseball guy, but they're good. So far I've been watching the Blue Jays, watching the Bombers, CFL, some golf. I mean, I just need hockey, man.
Man, just like this like antsy period of like it's not quite soon enough for NFL either. It's like August. August sucks for that.
Yeah. Yeah, but like getting through August to reap the benefits of September are so like September's Jets training camp, NFL starts, Bombers are still going. September and October are probably my two favorite, like months of the sports calendar. I mean, the NBA starts too. I tune into some NBA as well. So August is quiet, but it's almost like a needed quiet because then the next couple of months are just insane. Bryson here says, trending up the Jets Cup chances in the next 3 years because they're not paying Samberg long-term money. Interesting perspective there from Bryson. I will agree. A lot of people said, well, maybe 6 years at $8 million. Clearly that wasn't happening. And they got him at what a lower AAV would be for these next 3 seasons. Comment says trending up Dylan Samberg down Ville Heinola. I was on CGOB last week, Lyss, and they said, how do you think Christian Almel asked me, how do you think, the logjam on the defense corps gets shaken out with 9 defensemen? I said, Willie Jefferson. No, he's on the mind. I mean, he dominated that game. Anyways, I said, Ville goes on waivers. I think that's what happens. I think a week into training camp or whatever, whenever the big rundown is, I think that's what happens. Again, prediction from on August long. We'll see when training camp rolls around. Someone could get hurt. There have been injuries in training camp the last couple of years, and then that they can keep everyone, right?
But no, that's for Ville actually is my actual trending down pick.
Nice.
I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm like keeping you on your toes. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yep.
I actually I was at work on Friday when they announced those the New Jersey numbers. When I saw the Gustav Nyquist number 14 jersey, that hurt, guys. I don't feel anything really about like this year. I'm like, yeah, cool, whatever. Like I've gotten pretty complacent about the Winnipeg Jets. That hurt. I felt like I'd been shot actually when I saw a number 14 Winnipeg Jets jersey that wasn't Tim Stapleton or Ville Heinola, and I was like, this is not right. This hurts. And so I think you're totally right. And when that Elliot Friedman, who's on waivers today, tweet comes in the middle of training camp with like every team clearing out their backlog and he's just one of a million guys on there, I'm like, you guys don't get it. Like, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt so bad.
Yeah. Ville Heinola is a good trending down pick. I'm gonna take Jay Miller. I like this pick. Jason Hogan. We'll talk about this more on WST Bombers Report, but he's the offensive coordinator. The decision to throw the football on first down with under 3 minutes left in field goal range, up 6, and it ends in an interception was just one of the most puzzling things I've really ever seen the Bombers do. They're usually so money in those scenarios, and thankfully it didn't burn them. It didn't. Toronto got the interception. They didn't go down and score. Thank you, Willie Jefferson, everyone says in unison. But holy moly, yeah, we will discuss that. I'm sure Schnitzy has plenty of thoughts on that. So Jason Hogan's going to be my trending down, even though the Bombers put up 41 points. 2 of them were on special teams. 1 was on defense for touchdowns. So Tom here is asking, is Josh healthy for the start of training camp? So this is a great question because in game 6 against the Dallas Stars, he kind of got tangled up, didn't return to the game. It looked like a nasty knee injury. He said at the end of the season that he'll be okay for training camp. And it was, like a 4 to 6 week thing, didn't need surgery. So got great news there on Josh Morrissey, who should be a full go for training camp. When players get, like significant knee injuries or what looks like a significant knee injury or any kind of injury in the playoffs, you're always worried about the trickle effect into next season. I mean, Adam Lowry is going to miss 2 months with hip surgery that, he played with or played through that. But Josh Morrissey, the Jets' number 1 defenseman, will be good to go for training camp, which is a great sign. And he's at this Canadian camp. Again, is this happening right now? I should have done more research into this camp. Maybe I gotta go find it and see what's going on. If they're just like practicing.
It's not Winnipeg Jets or Manitoba Moose hockey. I don't care.
No, yeah,
not locked in on it.
Like, are they just practicing face-offs and then going home? And I don't know. Anyways, Josh Morrissey healthy for the start of training camp, healthy for this Canadian player camp, and that's a good thing for both Team Canada and the Winnipeg Jets. Trending down, CFL stats team. This is a great pick as well. Bingo Bango with a great pick. Trending down, CFL stats team. It just wasn't working for like the majority of the game. I still haven't checked today. I'm assuming they got it, figured out, but yeah, they're having some issues with their tracking. That is something you could say about the CFL the last number of years. But anyways, that was trending up, trending down. Thank you everyone for submitting your great picks in the chat below. And while you're down there, make sure you hit the like button, hit that subscribe and the notification bell. Like I said, WST Bombers Report with me and Zach Schnitzer coming out tomorrow right here on the channel. So hit the notification bell so you don't miss that. And let's roll right into one burning question. This is the part of the show where we throw it to you, the chat, to ask anything Winnipeg Jets related down in the chat below. And we will try and rapid fire as many as we can. Lyss, my one burning question to you, if you can hear me, is going to be, which of the new numbers is your favorite choice of the bunch?
Oh boy. Did
I stump you on that one?
No, finally? That is a good one. Well, I can tell you my least favorite is Gustav Nyquist. I can tell you that 100% for free. And I gotta say, like,
okay,
even looking through,
I got thoughts.
Looking through them all, I seeing the 19 is still like just in that same category as everything else. I'm like, oof, I don't know how I feel about that. But listen, I kind of like David Gustafsson 41.
No, you do not.
It's like, because it's objectively bad. Like 19 is such a hockey number.
Objectively horrible.
And 41 is the least hockey number on planet Earth. So I kind of vibe with it just as like sure, why not?
I can't. This is the biggest thing we've ever disagreed on in the history of the show. Okay.
Go crazy.
It's so bad.
I'm really upset you. I'll hear you out. I think it's so funny.
Who's ever worn number 41?
Jason Jaffray. Jason Jaffray wore number 41.
Yes. Yaroslav Halak, just retired, goaltender.
No, because I have a Winnipeg Jets heritage in my car, and it's one of the JH ones, so it has 4 numbers on it. And I was so excited when I was getting one because I was like, okay, who are going to be the 2 players that I have on my thing? And I'm not going to dox my entire license plate, but like one of the numbers is 41, and I was like, what? And I was like, Jason Jaffray was like the only one. I googled it. He is the only one to have worn number 41 for the Winnipeg Jets. But now David Gustafsson. That's my goat. I love that guy.
People are disagreeing with me. 41 is a fabulous number.
No, it's a bad number. I agree with you. That's why I like it though.
Like, I can't. No, I saw 41, and Huss and Remus were saying on the show too, like, that's just so ugly. I mean, just for a hockey number, like 41's a fine number on its own. Whatever. Hockey number, it's just not the play, especially if you're not a goalie.
Before we get into the chat questions, could I ask you one super quick burning question?
Yes.
I have the graphic pulled up of all these New Jersey numbers. There are 11 of them. How many of them do we actually see in a regular season game?
Ooh, that's a good question. Let me get the graphic up as well because I need to see both. Okay. Nyquist 1, Pearson 2, Koepke 3. Ford, I'll say 4. Dewar, DiGiuseppe, Fegemo, Clegg, Polcher. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We see 5. Villy doesn't play. Gustafsson plays. We see 41 in action. You can get a game-worn 41. Parker Ford gets in at some point, I think, in the bottom 6. Cole Koepke, Tanner Pearson, Gustav Nyquist. And then the second slide is just all their AHL signings. I don't think we see those guys, barring, a few injuries. And then Villy, I don't know. I don't. He's the 9th defenseman.
It hurts. It hurts so bad, Connor.
He's the 9th defenseman, man. Anyways, yeah. I think 5. I think 5. Is that an acceptable answer? What do you think?
Yeah, that's valid. Nah, I think 5 is also correct.
Word. Okay, sweet. Yeah, I think we do see 41 in action at some point. Gus has played games every year. He'll play some more. And then Koepke, Pearson, Ford, Gustafsson. I think these are all like rotational 4th line guys that'll get in. And then Nyquist, obviously. We talked about him earlier. He'll be playing in the middle 6, a pretty big role. Comet is saying, how often do I use the eraser from my golf pencil to fix my score? I am going golfing today, and I'm just hoping to like break 95, break 100. Maplewood. Gonna be fun. Gonna be a nice day. It's not like too hot, That's always an issue, at least for me, when it's golfing. I know some people like to golf at like 7 a.m. because then it's before the real heat rolls in, which is a smart play. here's another question. Will Lowry be stronger when he comes back? So go ahead.
Great question. Because this is what I was saying this all of last year. I knew something was wrong with that guy. I think everybody knew there was something wrong with that guy. And he was still good. But we haven't seen Adam Lowry perfectly healthy or away from Mason Appleton in the last little bit. Sure. I am really looking forward to seeing what he can do when he comes back. And I do think he'll be better for it. I think we saw one of the best seasons of Adam Lowry's career in the last, year, 2 years. And then this year he left something to be desired. He wasn't bad, but it was like, I know that there's more there. And so I think that this injury was kind of revealing of that. I think he will be better when he gets back. And I think it's going to be awesome.
Really? Wow. Okay. I am excited to see, who they play him with, who they give the Mason Appleton role to, because a lot of people in our chat every single Sunday would have issue with the role that Mason Appleton plays. And I think that we discussed that at
he's a new whipping boy for sure.
Right. And like, he was playing a lot at 5-on-5, more than Nikolai Ehlers, and like that's a problem. And there's really no other way around that. It's going to be interesting if the third line right winger plays more than Cole Perfetti at 5-on-5 per game.
Well, that's the question. Is there a Mason Appleton role to fill, or do they reconfigure the way they do things entirely?
Is it a Mason Appleton thing, or is it a role thing as well?
Yeah.
Is it Mason Appleton, we believe in him, so we're playing him this much? Or is it Adam Lowry's winger that we're playing this much? What is the distinction there? So,
or maybe this is forcing a reevaluation because they're like, okay, we're losing our main guys that we had in this role.
Right.
So what do we do? And you reevaluate and you're like, they play too much.
Right. Well, maybe that was our problem. Yeah. I don't know. That is something that I'm fascinated to see as well. And it's something that we're not going to see in training camp. So it'll keep it fresh because we'll see it in, I don't know, November, who Adam Lowry plays with on that third line, assuming he's on the third line, assuming, Nemestikov's on the second line, or maybe Taves is the 2C and killing it. Again, a lot of question marks and a lot of unknowns with this Winnipeg Jets forward core going into training camp. And we'll be back in September to preview training camp and obviously cover training camp. That'll be so much fun. Bryson giving me some content ideas. Look at this August video idea. What does the Jets roster look like in 5 years? That
Mark
is
Scheifele is the first line center. Connor Hellebuyck is
the Mark Scheifele at 37.
Yeah,
he's the 2C of the future. Mark it down. There it is. Yeah, that is a good video idea though. That's something that I'd like to deep dive and fully fledge out what the Jets would look like in 5 years. Because again, in 5 years, like I just said, Scheifele's 37. Hellebuyck will be 37 at that time. I believe they're the same age. And then like Pionk will be older. Morrissey will be 34. Yeah. So that's an interesting one because the Jets, their core is reaching that age where like 5 years from now, we could see a pretty sharp decline or a lot of movement, a lot of player movement. So that's a good video idea, Bryson. I appreciate that. And maybe you'll see it in August here. We might have to actually dive into that. Who do the Jets get rid of on defense? We mentioned it earlier. I think it's Ville Heinola. I think he goes on waivers at training camp. And they go down to 8 defensemen and they carry 8. I think that's what happens.
You think they carry 8? Because I genuinely wonder. I don't know. Like the Hayden Fleury signing is kind of like a non-issue to me. It's like that. It's a guy who wanted to stick around. You can sign him for low term, whatever. Leave it at that. But like, one burning question. Is this the year that we see the end of the Logan Stanley experiment?
No.
Okay. Cool. Good talk.
Good talk. Yeah. I don't have faith that well, okay. I should put it this way. I think the Jets are higher on Logan Stanley than the rest of the fan base and we are Lyss. So they see something in him that would make him, an effective third pairing. They started him game 1 of the playoffs 2 months ago, game 1, round 1 of the playoffs. He's their third pair guy. I think they value him high enough to keep him around.
Also, just gotta say, I think there are some McDonald's breakfasts that are being owed around here because I definitely deserve Connor Hellebuyck is going to win the Hart McDonald's breakfast for sure. And someone owes someone. I feel like I'm not involved in this.
Jacob owes me, but that's been paid out.
Okay.
Logan Stanley was in the lineup game 1.
Yeah,
he said he wouldn't be. I said he would be. And
okay, so what I'm hearing is that you're getting paid, but you're not paying up.
Okay, whoa.
I'm reporting you to Hudson Remo. What's going on here?
Yeah, don't tell Hus, please. No, I will say, yeah, Jacob. I mean, I think I went undefeated against that guy in McDonald's breakfast bets. Like, I hope he comes back to the show just so I can keep rolling.
We need Rasmus Kavari to come back just so he can
Right,
be put
just to
on
go on
waivers.
waivers. And there we go. No, I do want to say this is actually a good, transition. I saw Jacob this past week. He's doing great, loving life, having a good summer. And I want to thank everyone because this is the final episode of our first season, if you want to put it. I want to thank Jacob for all of his contributions to the show throughout the regular season and the playoffs. And I want to thank all of you who join us every single Sunday morning. The regulars who are always in chat, you know who you are. We really, really appreciate it. All your support, all the comments, all the burning questions, all the trending up down picks. And Lyss and I are going to be in the lab in the month of August, making this show even better, even more grander next season. Going to do more guests. I know we had a lot of guests near the end of last season, most notably Elliot Friedman, friend of the show. We had Dmitry Filipovich, Jeff Merrick. We had some great guests, and we're going to be leaning on that a little bit more next year. We're going to, reach out to some people, see if they want to come on the show and give their thoughts. So I want to thank everyone for joining us every single Sunday for season 1 of WST Sunday Live. And we can't wait for season 2. Lyss, any final words on season 1 before we come back in September after taking August off?
Yeah, I mean, it's been such a blast. Honestly, core memory for me is I was living in Quebec last fall during training camp, which I'm never doing again. I'm never missing Winnipeg Jets training camp again because the FOMO was like
can't be done.
Unbelievable. Yeah. It was so bad. But Connor kind of reached out to me with this idea of what if this is the show that we did? And I'm going to kind of throw you under the bus here, Connor. But your initial idea was you're like, this will be the show that I do. And, I don't want to put too much of a burden on you or Jacob Stoller, but what if you did half the episodes and Jacob Stoller did half the episodes? Right. I know you don't know him super well, but he's a good friend of mine. He's really good like that. And I was like very familiar with his work. Don't know the guy super well, but I think that sounds like a great idea. And then the three of us had a group chat and we're like, maybe for the first one, we can just kind of like introduce ourselves, all get to know each other. So we jump on this call for the very first ever WST Sunday Live, and we go long for the whole hour. And that was my first time doing live Jets coverage in quite some time. And we log off and immediately all three of us are like, yeah, so unfortunately all three of us have to do this together as often as we can because it was so much fun. And it was obviously such a transformative year for me. It was my first year with an NHL credential that I got to go to games and practices and all these things in a different capacity, which was really special. And getting to do it with the two of you was so unbelievably fun. Like, you guys have always been super, super patient with me and super encouraging of everything I do, but also not afraid to kind of push back on me and call me an idiot when I deserve to be called an idiot, which is such a great balance.
When you say 41 is a good number for doing this,
number.
Like, I'll jump in. My goodness.
No, exactly. So obviously we're gonna miss Jacob so much next year. We already miss Jacob so much, but we have a blast, and it's so fun to be able to connect with everyone every single week. And I've gotten to know so many of you who.
No. Oh, you're good. You're good.
Keep going. No, I was gonna say everyone who I've gotten to know through the WST community through doing this, it's so nice to be chatting with people at different events, and then they hear my voice and they're like, oh my gosh, are you Lyss? Like, I listen to you every Sunday. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Well, it's so nice to put faces to names, because without the names in this chat, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. So we're very grateful for it.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with everything you said there. And I can't wait to do more Jets content next year. As some of you know, I'm, full-time with WST now. So WST Sunday Live is going to be going every Sunday, just like it did last year. But there's going to be a lot more Jets content coming from me and the WST crew in general on the channel next season. Maybe some post-game stuff, maybe, some practice reports. I know people enjoyed those during the playoffs when I had more time, when school was out, and my exams were over. So to go into this next season for the first, my first full-time season covering the Winnipeg Jets, I'm very, very excited, and we're going to be putting a lot into it, and we hope that we see you there. September 7th, I want to say, is when we will return to WST Sunday Live, the day after the Banjo Bowl. The day after the Banjo Bowl, because Labor Day, again, still a little too early. And my cousin's actually getting married on Labor Day Sunday. So congratulations, Jared and Jordan. That'll be very, very fun. And then, September 7th, we'll be back. And then training camp, I believe, will begin September 17th, 18th, somewhere in that range. Their first preseason game is the 20th, 21st against the Wild. Fan Fest will be the Saturday before that. It always is. And we hope to see you there at FanFest. I know Huss and Remus, they do their show. They do a special show on this Saturday for about an hour right after Illegal Curve. And we'll be live every Sunday throughout the regular season with more guests, maybe with some new segments, maybe with a sponsor. We're going to get in the lab for August, and we'll look back. We'll check back in September, and we hope to see you all there. So from Lyss Houde and myself, Connor Hrabchak, thank you everyone for tuning into this WST Sunday Live and WST Sunday Live for the entirety of the 2024-25 season. We can't wait to see you next year. See you in September, everyone. Enjoy your August, and we'll see you to preview training camp on September 7th. Have a good rest of your Sunday. Have a good August, everyone, and we'll see you in a bit. Bye-bye.